All right, segment two, Gold and Black Live with Bruce Weber, a man that needs no introduction to Purdue fans. In fact, he was in Mackey Arena, as many of you know, Tuesday for the Purdue-Milwaukee game. Coach, we go back a long time, and that's a great thing for me. But you certainly had to have been a interesting, different experience being in Mackey Arena, not only with your former team that you coached for 18 years as an assistant, but also your alma mater playing in Mackey. And then was your first broadcast also for the Big Ten Network. Now they got a couple days removed from it. Give yourself what was that experience like?
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I wasn't nervous. I was, the broadcast. I didn't want to screw up and tried to do my homework. I've been to a couple of Purdue practices and talked to Matt quite a bit. Talked to the UWM coach and watched their practice. So, but I thought it went very smoothly. Kevin Krugler was,
really
announcer, and he's NFL, Major League Baseball, college basketball. So he helped me. And obviously the Big Ten Network people, they wanted me to do well. I only screwed up a couple times, and I knew I did, but I'm not sure anyone else did. But it was fun. And it was, I'll tell you, to be back, Matt, obviously I recruited, I coached, he was my assistant for 5 years, to watch him and be part of that. And, it's so cool. But, three other players, I coached their dads, Brandon Brantley, relationship with Paul Lusk, and, and then to see so many former faces, players, managers, friends, neighbors.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was a nice, fun evening, and it was good to be back. And I'm glad my first game was in Mackey Arena.
Yeah, I think it couldn't be more fitting. And yes, the house on Whitley Court, which I live not too far from there, still doing well, and they're taking good care of it. Now just in terms of you were so ingrained here and for such a long time, and that culture that is Purdue basketball, you're as big a part of it as anybody. But Gene Keady, your boss at the time, and all that. Talk about that, and just that culture that Matt brings still, and it's still in the Mackey Arena, that great environment that's still there. What's that like, and that experience is to see that all kind of continue to move on.
Well, you're proud, I'm proud of Matt. What he's done is unbelievable. He's just, as a coach, some guys just worry about winning games. Other guys worry about creating a program. And he's got a program, and that, I think it's all of I shouldn't say every coach's dream. Some guys just want to win and make money and get out or whatever it does it. But, as that, that was always that's all I knew, the basketball family, you were part of it. It just, and so it's, cool to see what Matt has done, obviously, to be part of Coach Keady. Matt I knew he was going to be a good coach from when he was a player. He loved it. He was around it. He was in the office, even recruiting stuff. He was part of it. But, so his transition, what he's done to watch how he's kept it going, it's just, it's special. And you feel, just, that's what I was saying, to be back in Mackey, to be part of that, and the, sellout crowd, and the students, and how they're involved. And, I just wish, that Purdue gets to a Final Four somewhere along the line.
Both of us.
Yeah, they were sure close, and it would have been nice. I just watched Coach Keady's face and torture that Virginia game, but I'm sure all fans will remember that. But so it's great. And I feel good. I was part of it. 18 years is a long time as an assistant, and so it's just cool. It's rewarding to watch and see what Matt's done and how the program has continued.
Yeah, you talk about, you've been to a Final Four of a national championship game, and it can be. Now you had a terrific team in Illinois, but it can be a bounce of the basketball. I mean, it is. I mean, the NCAA tournament is damn near a random event. I mean, it's not.
Yes.
I mean, good teams win, but you have to look at it from that perspective, not just because Purdue has fallen short, if you want to use that word, but it also just, you need the right break at the right time sometimes.
Well, and I was so young, and and when I started with Coach Katie and I didn't understand it all, to be honest. And we probably had 3, maybe 4 times where we were good enough to get to the, obviously Troy, Todd, Everett. We were good enough, Glenn, Glenn gets hurt, it's just crazy. Brad, Brian, Jerron Cornell gets hurt, that team, we probably were good enough. And then obviously that I leave in the next year, that they were probably they were right there in Wisconsin and play one of the ugliest basketball games ever. But
it was.
And but you just don't realize it. So it's for Tom Izzo to do what he's done and got, as many times, it's amazing, because it is, as you said, a bounce of a ball, a shot, but there's certain people understand it. You got to understand how to get there. I was very, very fortunate. Our team, obviously our 05 team in Illinois, was one of the best teams in the history of college basketball, and 2 shots from perfection, and we needed a miracle comeback to get there against Arizona. And so it's just crazy, but and that's how you get judged. The sad part is, Coach Katie should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just, it's a joke to be honest, what he he did high school, he did junior college, he was assistant, went to the Final Four, obviously, one of the top winningest coaches in the history of the Big Ten. And then he did NBA and he did USA basketball. He won gold medals, and he's still not in there because probably he didn't go to the Final Four. So it's just, it's really sad. And I've argued with the people in the Hall of Fame, but I haven't won out. So it's, I wish it would happen, and sooner than later, but I'm not sure it will.
Yeah, you just you can't. That's one thing you just can't say absolutely. I don't care, because your game against Arizona was one of the best college basketball games I've ever seen. I mean, and I was rooting for you guys at Illinois, but even if it just was an unbelievable game, and people don't realize, you get that game done, but boy, you had to do some amazing things to get it done, to get to the Final Four. I mean, and that was as good a team as you said in the history of the Big Ten. It's probably on the Mount Rushmore of the best teams in the league. Yeah,
it's got to be Indiana's. Even though last game we're undefeated, and then Ohio State, we're winning that game for 39 minutes and whatever, 40 seconds, and they hit the crazy shot at the end, and it actually helped us in the long run. And then we make the run through the tournament and win that. And, so but again, as you said, it's a hard thing to get there. And I was very, very fortunate, and, just to be part of that, and we'll always appreciate it's definitely one of my better moments of my coaching career, that winning a gold medal. But I just, I thought Glenn's year, we were going to get there. And it just, the craziness, Glenn gets hurt, and and then even still we had a chance, but we just couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, and that's part of it. The craziness of college basketball. It's such a stable thing. You just know it's going to be the same.
Oh my goodness, yeah, real stable now.
Yeah. I don't know how you've done it. You look good in your gray hair, but you earned it from that standpoint. All right, tell us a little bit about the Big Ten Network and what your role is going to be. You obviously did the Purdue game. You're going to do some games, but studio is going to be a big part of that, and maybe a little bit about how all that came to pass for you, because that may have been something that coaches want to do. But you've got family life and other things you want to try to balance in the next phase of your life.
Yeah, I had a couple offers to coach in the spring. I'm glad I didn't make an emotional decision. Megan kind of said, there's some mid-majors, and I love coaching. It doesn't matter where. I enjoy coaching. I'd coach 8th or 9th graders, but right now we're not stable enough to be there for 3 months to give them all the commitment. But, so some people started calling, what are you going to do? You know, and you just talked to Steve Shearer, who's with Fox and a good friend through CBS. And then they kind of, you know, he said, hey, the Big Ten Network needs a coach. I thought it was a good fit for me. I love the league. I for the most part, I really believe it's what college basketball should be about. Yeah. You know, great traditions and the crowds and education and the, you know, the whole model. I think they do as good a job as anybody. So, you know, I thought it would make sense. And Megan encouraged me to do something. She knows when you work 340 days a year, you know, 10 to 12 hours every day, it's hard to just turn it off totally. So we thought it would be a good way to kind of, as you said, transition into a new phase. And so got on with I did a kind of a rehearsal interview with the Big Ten up in Chicago and late summer, and it seemed to go okay. And so we'll see. The games will be interesting. I wasn't sure about that. I've done studio before. Big Ten Network, when they started, they brought us up there. I did ESPN, the car wash. I've done, you know, NCAA tournament, you know, weekends on CBS Sports, and done some of that. So I felt comfortable with that. So it'll be a few nights a week. They're big nights. I guess they're Tuesday, Wednesday, lots of games, and hopefully a little different perspective as a coach and what's going on. And you know, I got to stay. I can't be biased to certain teams. I like to be careful about that. But, you know, deep down, always be cheering for Matt and the Boilers.
Yeah, I think you hit that. Of course, you had an interesting experience just having, like I said, your alma mater and Purdue at the same time. That's a pretty interesting and fun way to test that notion right away for you. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem for you. You've been around it long enough that a pro's pro from that standpoint. All right, one of the things that and I want to ask you about your early evaluation of Purdue, but I want to also talk about coaching. And Jay Wright leaves. You obviously in a time where you know, two guys that are pillars of college basketball, been around a long time. Talk about that and just some of the challenges, you know, whether it be transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, or just the volatility of all this. How does this get better, or is this going to be the way it's going to be 10 years from now? How do you see this going as your visionary of college basketball?
Yeah, you know, and Coach Katie years ago, AAU started, it's going to ruin the game. You know, it just, and you know, the 3-point line, the shot clock. I mean, all these things that have happened, you know, change is part of life. But, you know, I always bring up, you know, Coke changes their formula, and change isn't good just to change. And you know, it ends up that, you know, they had to go back to their old formula. So, but can you do this? You open the can of worms. Can you close that again? My question with NIL, is it sustainable? And, you know, that with the boosters giving money, and are they going to be happy if a player doesn't play well, if he transfers, you know, and then the other part is the schools that need facilities. If all this money is going to the players now, how are they going to be able, or scholarships or whatever? Yeah. Can you sustain it? The money is not just endless, and it's not just, you know, so maybe the rich can survive and the others can't. I don't know. I love college basketball. I love what it's about. To me, I worry about the players. Matt Painter and I have talked about it a lot. One of the reasons if you stay at a school, you are part of their family for life. And especially if the coach stays the whole time, which is rare, you know, but you know, when you leave there, I still have guys call me from Purdue. Hey, coach, can you help me with this? Can you do this? Yeah. You know, but when you just keep leaving and keep going to schools, I don't think the kids understand it. The parents don't understand it. Sooner or later, you're going to need to call back to somebody. Matt had the interesting one was Harms a few years ago. You know, if he stays there, he's part of Purdue. He's a legend. He's part of it. He can always call back. Now he leaves for 9 months. Yeah. So is he part of BYU? Is he, you know what I mean? It's just, and that's the part I don't think people realize, you know, that, and it's so important. And, you know, just going in Mackey and here's Matt Waddell and here's this, you know, this guy or that, you know, it's just, though those guys are part of that. I had my SIU 20th anniversary of our Sweet 16 team. And those guys were talking about it. Coach, if Portal was there and NIL, he said this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have been in the Sweet 16, and we wouldn't be back here, and feeling good about ourselves that we were part of something special. So it'll be interesting. But again, one thing Coach Katie taught me, and you'll probably laugh. He told me this many years ago. If you can't be flexible, you're not going to stay in this business. And that's coming from somebody that, I think I always use him as example. He's you were afraid of him. I'm still afraid of him. He might, hit me or something, but but he was flexible. He changed with the times. He's changed with basketball, as basketball's changed. And that's why he stayed in it. It's, something that I try to talk about with young coaches, and I tried to do as a coach myself. You had to change. Otherwise, if you're not going to change, you got to get out of it.
Yeah, I love the clip that they ran this week on BTN with you in the 1997 Purdue Indiana game, and Gene in the locker room was so vintage. And you're right, there's a healthy amount of fear still around, even when you hear from him from time to time. But that is I don't think you've ever been around a guy, and you've been around 100x more coaches than I have, but a guy that could have that be able to instill the right amount of fear, but also the love that came in right behind it was just, you can't put a price tag or a measure on it.
I was at the Minnesota High School Association clinic, their coaches clinic last week, and I talked about it, and he would cuss those guys out, call them names that I don't even know existed, and kick them out of practice. And then I'd go up Mackey Arena stairs, and there 20 minutes after practice, he's in there hugging them, laughing with them, telling jokes, giving them, a cookie or whatever. It just, it was amazing how, and I learned from him, about that you had to do that. And I would always talk to our coaches about it. One of my great learning lessons from him was when I was a young coach, one of the players was a knucklehead and did some things, and I got mad at him. I wasn't talking to him, so he finally one day he goes, "Hey, you're mad at him, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, he goes, "I just have one question for you." And I said, "What, coach?" And he said, "Who's the adult and who's the kid?" Yeah. And it just hit me, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm the adult." He goes, "Well, if you're the adult, go take care of the problem." And I called the young man and, got it worked out, and, he ended up being a great player for us and having a good career. And so it's funny how the lessons I learned from him, and I'm sure Matt, those guys, the players remember more than I do, because every day you're so involved. But their little 4 years is different than my 19 years, so I don't remember everyone.
Yeah, it is. It's a fine line of he could get you out of left field. You just things that you would not think he was going to notice. He noticed. Yes. And you say, well, this isn't a guy that's going to impart the greatest of life's wisdom, but that's exactly what he did.
And that's what was his special talent, and his little. And I lived in Kansas now. And so his little sayings from, I don't know if they're country, cowboy, whatever they are, but, the players, Matt, different guys, all the players, Troy Lewis, all that, they just wish somebody would have wrote them all down and put them in a book. So
I've tried to, and my favorite one is, it's hard to look into somebody's head to see how big their heart is. That's just, that
makes no sense, but it
does. Yeah. It does. In Gene Katie speak, it does. All right. Matt Painter is, you said, a very special, kind of a savant-like coach. I'm always amazed at just how he retains, but also that flexibility he shows, his personality and how he relates well, and the culture he's built. That again was that you guys built the foundation. But talk about his development, and also maybe, he's got a young team this year in some ways, certainly a different team from last year. But if you love basketball, I always say you're going to like to watch this team, because it's going to have some ups and downs, but the story of a season may really unfold for Purdue this year.
Yeah, and he's got a big challenge because of guard play. Guard play is so important. Yeah. Obviously, his front line is veterans and good, and you know, so but you got to get the ball to them, and you got to get up the court. And you know, college basketball, who's won the Final Four? You know, it's 2 point guards. You know, it's kind of a proven thing. So, but I think that you brought it up, Matt is really intelligent. He listens to everything. He's done a great job when everybody else is kind of going small ball. He's going with the big guys. He's, you know, he's done. I just met with my old athletic director, Ron Gunther from Illinois, and we were just talking about it, that Matt has really made an emphasis staying with character, staying with quality people, and guys that he can coach and be happy. Because, you know, if you can't coach them, it's no fun. And so he's continued that, and you know, they could be really special. I think Braden Smith is good. He's got that that Indiana, not only the confidence or fundamentals, but he's got a little confidence. He's got a little. Yeah, I had my little guard at Nigel Pack. You know, was just amazing. There's, you know, the fundamentals were there, but he also had a little feel of the game and feel of confidence that other places or kids don't get. I don't know where it comes from, but it's part of it. And so he's going to be good. He's going to have some ups and downs. You know, you go on the road and people get into you, and the crowd does. It makes it tough, but it should be fun watching them. They can't get, you know, injuries like anyone else. The depth, but I think like Trey Kaufman-Renn, I think he has great upside. I think he can be somebody that could take a big step for them. You know, the other guy, you know, and you need everyone to play roles, but they need to develop a bench. I think that'll be a key, and where he feels like he's got a good rotation, 7-8 guys, and probably doesn't. The one thing I admired about Matt, I told it, a lot of times we would have system where you have a big guy, but then when he comes out, now you can't run the same system because you don't have that big guy. But Matt has kind of kept 2 big guys. Now this year he doesn't have quite that, you know, because first it gives you a different look. But you know, so it's you know, where we had to, you know, at K-State, I had a kind of a big guy system, but then you had to go small ball, so you had to have different looks. And that's his challenge a little bit this year too. I actually talked to him last night, some of the little things that he might have to do as a coach this year, a little different than he's done. But you know, that's what he's good at. I mean, he knows basketball. He loves it. He studies it. And I think they'll have a good season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the fact that he also seems to be, and I know you had those qualities as well, you talk to your friends, you talk to your peers, you do what it takes to get some feedback from other people. It's maybe different than what you would get from your assistants. But that's part of having some age on you and being able to do that. I sense that, Matt, that's a big part of what Matt's about. I know that's what you were about as well.
Yeah, it's I've always said, and this, I thought Coach Katie, we always talk about it too. Use the wisdom of other people, use the wisdom of older coaches and stuff. And now if your ego's too big, you won't listen to anybody. And that was what, you know, you were around. Coach Katie was so good at using his assistants. And you know, we all had voices, and that was the fun part of coaching. Now, you go to other places, I go to a practice, and the coaches are like, "Are you an assistant? You know, what do you haven't said a word the whole day." So, you know, we're at our practices, you know, everybody's involved. You're all around. Maybe it's too chaotic, I don't know, but the game of basketball is chaotic as it's going. There's a crowd and noise and all that stuff. So I think that always helped us, you know, make our guys a little tougher and make them deal with the unexpected that comes in a daily game.
All right, last question. Your what you care to share in your family life. You're a grandfather. You've got 3 daughters, and the joy of your life. I'm sure you and Megan and all those. That's a big part. Tell us a little bit about that, and also you're holding up. You're living in St. Louis, but also kind of making your way to Chicago, and talk about that as well.
Yeah, you know, we obviously, Megan and I, 18 years, other than our growing up in Milwaukee, it's the longest we were anywhere, and being in West Lafayette. And and Lafayette a little bit. We were in little apartments when we first got married on the other side of town. And we had all three daughters were born there. Megan, OB nurse, delivered a whole bunch of babies. And like the crazy one, when I was recruiting Gary Harris, Megan, Megan had delivered and taught the childbirth classes. So I knew him before anyone else did. So, but our girls, Hannah went to Purdue and got her doctorate in pharmacy, and we're really proud of that. She's, worked as a pharmacist. She's got little twins, married. Her husband went to Purdue. Actually, ironically, he's a Champaign, Taylor Pope. He grew up in Champaign, but then he went to Purdue for school and lives and dies it. He'll be at the football game on Saturday in Champaign, and so will Hannah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then Christy, our middle one, has two little boys. Hannah's got the twins. They're 4, a boy and a girl. And then Christy, our middle one, married a Champaign guy, graduated from Illinois State, Trent, but they are in Kansas City right now with 2 boys, and 5 and 2. And then Emily, our youngest, did advertising at Illinois, and she got married to we always told them, don't date those athletes. You can't trust those athletes. She didn't listen. She married a football player, a wide receiver from Illinois, and they're happily married and live in Dallas, Texas, and she's in advertising and he's in logistics. And so we, and Megan is, sacrificed 42 years to chasing me around and helping me with basketball and being part of it. And we did love Manhattan. I will tell you, we loved every place we were at. We have great friends everywhere. We still see, obviously, people West Lafayette, people from Carbondale, people from, the Champaign, and then even Manhattan, some of our better friends, because it just happened. We were older and our neighbors were good. So it was hard to leave, but we're in St. Louis, bought a little condo, and we've had a place in Florida. So we'll make that. We'll see. We're figuring it out right now, but a little bit of time in Florida, obviously it's nice. I was down there last week. It was 87. It was pretty, although here it's been pretty warm.
Boy, it's beautiful today. Yeah.
Saturday is going to be freezing cold with the football game. So maybe we'll go back to Florida and enjoy the 80-degree weather again. But so we'll kind of rotate, and with also the Big Ten Network. And I did clinics this fall, 5 or 6 clinics. I went to coaches and their staff. Guys, Eddie DeChellis, Navy brought me out, and just sat with them for 2 days, watched practice, sat in meetings, and that's the fun part. And then a lot of my former players, coaches are all around. So every day I get a couple calls, Coach, we need some advice. So it gives me everyone needs a purpose. And that's probably my purpose right now, being a good grandpa, good husband and father, and then just trying to stay in touch with all the guys.
Yeah, well, you have done that, and then some, a big part of my life and your first couple of years at Purdue. But it is the story of a great basketball life. You may not write a book when you're 80, but it would be a fantastic one, just because you have done it all. And we haven't even gotten into this. Will be for the next one, the story of how you got to Purdue and your part-time graduate or part-time role and that lofty salary you were making at that time. Part of that story. So, but it's a story with a very, very happy ending. Bruce, thanks so much for your time. I enjoyed it. And like I said, we'll pester you again. Maybe in February, you can give us an evaluation of the Big Ten, and maybe Purdue will be in the thick of things at that point in time, but that'll be a lot of fun to do as well. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think the league is up for grabs, to be honest.
No doubt.
I'm not sure. And, I think Illinois is pretty good. Michigan State's pretty good. Rutgers, Iowa's better than people give credit. So it'll be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. And, and I appreciate you, Alan, having me on, and great memories. You talk about that, lofty salary. I lived in a basement apartment in Lafayette. And I never turned my heat on and never turned the air conditioning on all year because I didn't have money. And if it wasn't for the Bob Schwartz and his family giving me Wendy's coupons, I wouldn't have eaten. So some pretty good memories.
In my sporting life, I tell people that I probably embellished the story a little bit, that I did your tax return. I don't think I did, but you did a 1040 EZ. And I remember I don't tell people what the amount was, but it's pretty amazing what you were doing. And I just remember we were on the bus and you had it out, and that was when I was first starting to do that kind of stuff. A lot of fun, but that's part of living a good life and a good long one. So here's to that. Good luck to you, and we'll enjoy watching you and listening. And we'll be back for segment 3 and look forward to, as we'll talk Purdue Illinois football. Going to be an interesting one at Memorial Stadium on Saturday. So Bruce, again, thanks again.
Thank you.